G'day guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm going to look at the top 5 misunderstood verses in the Bible, so let's get right into it. Now the first verse that I want to look at is the one where people say do not judge. So turn with me to Matthew chapter 7 verses 1 to 2, and it says, "Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured to you." So people often say that we cannot judge because Jesus said, do not judge or you too will be judged. So they think, we can't judge others for their sin. But in this context, that's actually not what Jesus was talking about. He was talking about hypocritical judgment, and he illustrates this by the hyperbole of the speck and the plank. In Matthew chapter 7 verses 3 to 5 it says, "Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, 'Let me take the speck out of your eye,' when all the time there is a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye." So what Jesus is saying here is that basically, how can we judge others and how can we go on to correct others if we ourselves are living worse lives than them? We basically need to sort out our own lives first in order for us to be in a better position to help others see the error in their own lives. Now, the Bible actually goes on to say that we are allowed to judge. We are allowed to judge. If we go to John chapter 7 verse 24, Jesus tells us to not judge according to appearance, but judge with righteous judgment. So there really is nothing wrong for us as Christians to point out sin in other people's lives and to judge them, as long as we are doing it with the right attitude. Now the next verse that I want to use that people often quote and misunderstand is in Matthew chapter 18 verse 20, and it says, "For where 2 or 3 have gathered together in my name, I am there in their midst." Now people often use this verse to say that even if there are 2 or 3 people coming together, gathered together in his name, that Jesus will be there in some sort of special way. Now this may or may not be true, but in the context this is not what it is talking about. If you were to read this passage in its context, you'll know that it's actually talking about official church discipline. Let's have a look at what this is saying in its context. So we're looking at Matthew 18, starting at verse 15, and it says, "Now if your brother sins, go and show him his fault. Between you and him alone, if he listens to you, you have won your brother. But if he does not listen to you, take 1 or 2 more with you, so that by the mouth of the 2 or 3 witnesses every fact may be confirmed. And if he refuses to listen to them, tell it to the church. And if he refuses to listen even to the church, let him be to you as the Gentile and the tax collector. Truly I say to you, whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall have been loosed in heaven. Again I say to you that if 2 of you agreed on earth about anything that they may ask, it shall be done for them by my Father who is in heaven. For where 2 or 3 have gathered together in my name, I am there in their midst." The third Bible verse that I want to give you is one that probably many of us quote, and it's found in Jeremiah 29 verse 11, and it says, "For I know the plans that I have for you, declares Yahweh, plans for peace and not for calamity, to give you a future and a hope." Now people often quote this verse as if it's a promise from God to every human being, but it's not. Jeremiah was actually prophesying the future restoration of Israel because God was about to destroy the nation of Israel and send them all off into exile. So let's look at this verse in its context. So Jeremiah 29, and we're starting at verse 10, and it says, "For thus says Yahweh, when 70 years have been fulfilled for Babylon, I will visit you and establish my good word to you, to return you to this place. For I know the plans that I have for you, declares Yahweh, plans for peace and not for calamity, to give you a future and a hope. Then you will call upon me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you search for me with all your heart. I will be found by you, declares Yahweh, and I will return your fortunes and will gather you from all the nations and from all the places where I have banished you, declares Yahweh, and I will cause you to return to the place from where I sent you into exile. The fourth verse that I want to give you is again another popular verse that many Christians love to quote, and it's found in Philippians chapter 4 verse 13, and it says, I can do all this through him who gives me strength. Many people often pull out this verse and hold on to it as if they can do anything through Christ. And it's often used in such a way that it helps us to empower our dreams, our visions, our hopes for the future. And while this Bible verse is a great hope and a great promise, in this context, it's not what Paul was writing about. In this context, Paul was writing about being content no matter his earthly circumstance. So whether he was rich or poor, whether he was well-fed or hungry, whether he was living in plenty or in want, this is the context that Paul was talking about when he said that he can do all things through him who gives me strength. So if we look at Philippians chapter 4, starting at verse 12, it says, I know how to get along with humble means, and I also know how to live in abundance. In any and all things I have learned the secret of being filled and going hungry, both of having abundance and suffering need. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. And the last Bible verse that I want to give you is found in 2 Chronicles chapter 7 verse 14, and it says, And my people who are called by my name humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their evil ways. Then I will listen from heaven, I will forgive their sin, and I will heal their land. Many people think this verse is saying that if the church prays and seeks after God, then God will heal their land and bring about revival. But again, that's not what this verse is talking about. This verse is actually talking about Israel in the Old Testament. So let's read it in its context. So we're looking at 2 Chronicles chapter 7, and we're starting at verse 11. Thus Solomon completed the house of Yahweh and the king's house, and all that had come into Solomon's heart to do in the house of Yahweh and in his house, he did successfully. Then Yahweh appeared to Solomon at night and said to him, I have heard your prayer and have chosen this place for myself as a house of sacrifice. If I shut up the heavens so that there is no rain, or if I command the grasshopper to devour the land, or if I send pestilence among my people, and my people who are called by my name humble themselves and pray, and seek my face, and turn from their evil ways, then I will listen from heaven, I will forgive their sin, and I will heal their land. So this passage is not about America, it's not about Australia or really any other country. When you read it in its context, it's about the nation of Israel. Anyway, I do hope you have enjoyed this video and perhaps have learned some new things about the different Bible verses that people use and misunderstand and misquote. If you have enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave me a comment, give me a thumbs up, and hit that subscribe button. I'll see you in the comments, and you'll see me again in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye bye.